an insult to you, and you become offended, and you're like, well, what's going on? Good morning. 6 a.m. Yeah, I didn't wait to sort of put on makeup before I decided to record this video, so please excuse my, it's not my usual demeanor. But what it is that I had an incredible truth to share with you today, and it's a truth that I think will, if it's embraced, if you will open your minds just to think slightly, just open the box a little bit. Alright, I'm not asking you to jump out of it, but at least open it a little bit. What I'm about to share with you, it's going to shock you. And if you think about it, it's one of those truths whereby after I've told you this truth, even if you don't accept it, it's going to just play around in your mind all the time. The other thing is that those who do accept it, they will know the truth. And guess what? The truth will set them free. Now, I'm going to show you how it works. In fact, forget about that. Let's just get you to the title so you know what I'm going to be talking about. People ask me, you're just talking about this journey of self-discovery. How do you start? What do you do? So, today, in this truth I'm going to tell you, I am going to show you tell you what you need to do in order to start the journey. You ready? Step 1. Get lost. That's right. Get lost. You heard me. Didn't stutter. Get lost. Why are you being so offensive? No, you didn't get the point. In order to find yourself, you've got to lose yourself. So get lost. This is where our problem is, and why you see that I have such a resistance to labels. Why I'm so opposed to the whole idea of being grouped and labeled and identified by some particular label. I'm going to explain to you how ridiculous it is for any human being with any sense or any faculty in their mind to allow themselves to be labeled. You don't know yourself. Let me show you. Let me just get to the point and I'll explain. Okay. And first of all, let me just deal with those who are, let's just say those who are Bible scholars and those of you who are biblical people. I just wanted to show you, if you think that what I'm going to be talking about is absolute nonsense, I'm going to bring something in there for you as well. Yeah. And for the others who just don't believe in anything, they believe in themselves and they believe in their own intellect from what they've learned from a system that gave them that intellect. I'll share something with you. The interesting thing is that in business, if you want to control a organization that is growing consistently and it's getting larger and larger and larger and larger, it's getting so big that you cannot put people to manage the people enough. There's not enough people to manage the people. So what you have to do is you have to create systems to manage the people. And then you get the people to manage the systems, and then the systems manages the people. That's how big companies build their if you like, their organization, and how they control their organization, how they structure it. And in the same way that if you want to control a huge population, you've got to split off into departments, yeah, and in that way you can be able to bring it down to sort of like small units that you can control and that you can influence and you can manipulate. Now, so let me explain. Imagine that you're in a supermarket, okay, and you're walking along the shelf of a supermarket, and what is it you see? You see all different types of produce on the counters. And in order to know what you're looking for, you have to read the signs and then follow the label and then look for the labels, right, around them. the container, whether it's a can or bottle or whatever. So here's the point. The point is that they put the labels for you to identify where to find them, what they are, and what is the content. What is the content? It's all the same content. When it's got the same label, it's got all the same content. You can trust the content based upon the label. You get to Heinz baked beans shelf, you got Heinz baked beans, and it all says Heinz baked beans. And guess what? Inside, it's all the same. You're not going to open one tin that's different. It's all the same. And then you go to the sweet corn, and you open the sweet corn, and it's all the same. It's got a label around it and tells it it's all the same. There's nothing different. There is no. If you wanted to find a special kind of baked beans, how are you going to choose a special one when they all look the same? When they all taste the same? When they all effectively have become the same thing? So anyway, listen to this. So the supermarkets, they do that. They wrap these labels around these things in order for people to know where they are and to be able to find where, or in fact, the cans and everything else, it's all predictable. It's all predictable where it's going to be and what it's going to be taste like. Now, imagine this now. This is an interesting thing to think about. Imagine if these produces were alive. They were alive. And it's in the supermarket of the world, if you like. And the interesting thing, the person who stacked all of these produce and is selling these produce has now control over these produce to the point whereby this person can almost get each produce to argue against itself, argue against each other anytime it wants. He can turn around and say, listen, baked beans, these guys called you, sweet corn called you bean heads. And all of a sudden, baked beans start having fights with the sweet corn. And, they can easily just manipulate. Once people get into groups, or I shouldn't have said people, my mistake. But once things get into groups, you can always easily manipulate it. Now, what was easily interesting about that is that they did the same thing with human studies about young children. If you take a group of, say, 10 young children, and you were to put on 5 of them red vests, and then you put on the other 5 blue vests, and you mix them all up, into the room, and then you go away, and then what happens is that they start to look at each other and identifying the things that they have in common, yeah? And so you can come back and you say, right, now guys, choose your teams. Split up and choose your teams. And you know what happens? Red goes with the red, the blue goes with the blue. Just like that. Because they look the same, right? So now, you've got the red and the blue, they're competing with each other. And, before the T-shirts were put on them, they were friends. This is the problem. This is the problem, that we haven't evolved from children. We haven't grown up spiritually, internally. We've grown up physically. Many of us are, big adults. But we haven't grown up internally, because a child should know that it's only a T-shirt and it's only a colour. It doesn't make us different. And, I don't even understand sometimes. Maybe this is part of the gift, and I think that this is really, people, sorry, I shouldn't say that maybe. Take the word back, rewind and delete. It is. There is within the gift, because people ask me, what is a gift? I'm like, well, it's very hard for me to define what is a gift when the gift itself contains many gifts within. Therefore, one of the gifts that I can definitely explain to you is the gift to know the truth. And the truth will set you free. Listen to this. Imagine if there was a huge boardroom controlling the supermarket of the world, and they decided, right, what we're going to do in order to control them is get them to split off into groups and identify them groups in the same way as the blue and the red T-shirts, right? And what we do is that we get them to focus on the colour of their skin, where they come from, how much money they've got, you know, where they live and who their, you know, upbringing is and what they believe. We get them all sort of like collecting themselves into different groups. That way we can control them. Why? Because once they're in a group, it's like in business. When you know your market, then what happens is that you're able to manipulate and exploit that market. For example, bringing an example of the baked beans. If I was wanting to, baked beans was my market, you know, all I need to do is sell tomato sauce. Oh, great. Everyone, all the baked beans go, yeah, give me some tomato sauce, mate. Oh, wow, wicked tomato sauce. Yeah, I love tomato sauce. And the same works for every product. Once you understand the group they belong to, then you know exactly how to press their buttons. You start pressing their buttons, and then all of a sudden, what happens? You have now a slave force. You now have groups of people who actually believe they're free when actually they're enslaved. And they're enslaved because of the label. Because once they've taken on the label, they have to fulfill the characteristics of what is on the label. What is bizarre about the whole thing? What is bizarre is that human beings, we will take on a label because we're afraid of being isolated, we're afraid of being considered to be weird or different, and so we join a group because we're just insecure. We just don't know who we are. Get to know yourself. When you get to know yourself, you don't need to compete. You don't need to. Why do you not need to compete? Because when you understand your gift is unique, no one can compete with you. So why you compete with anyone? Let them go. Let them do their thing. Do yours. Now, listen to this. Understand it from this perspective. You have to appreciate that the longer you put yourself into a group, the more you're suffering from peer pressure, the more you having to fulfill the desires of the entire group order. You know, it's like every group's got their laws and got their policies that you have to abide by. That's why you cannot be free. It's impossible for someone to say they're free and then they're so addicted to be grouped and labelled. And the other great thing is that even in the supermarket, the only thing that's labelled are dead things. Dead things. The only thing that you can put a label on is a dead thing. So you just anyway, you need to live. You need to become alive. And the only way you're going to come alive is when you get lost. Listen to this. Cows are more intelligent than human beings. Cows are more intelligent than human beings because you can find a whole group of cows in the field. A whole group of cows. And you never see in a group of cows, all the cows are all the same. You've got spotted ones, you've got black ones, white ones, brown ones, all kinds of different colours. And you know what? None of them are like, oh no, you need to go over where the spotted cows live. Oh, we are spotted cows, so this is what we do. And no, even they're smart enough to understand, look, what's the difference how you look like? What's more concerned about is that you're a cow. That's what we're concerned about. If you're a cow, you join my group. Yeah? It's called the cows group. Yeah? And as long as you're a cow, you're accepted. Now, back to the... just before I get onto the biblical point, another thing is, all these groups, black, white, Chinese, Indian, whatever, you English, Jamaican, South London, East London, North London, Christian, Methodist, whatever, Muslim, whatever, Buddhist, all labels, all just labels for groups. That's all it is, just labels for groups. Just wake up, man, just wake up and understand the truth and stop being so easily manipulated. All of these stuff about what's going on over different countries as well with the riots. Just stop being so easily manipulated and deceived. The other thing is, because, it's all the distraction. They just do that. They just press your buttons anytime and you just jump to it every time. Here's tomato sauce, baked beans. Unbelievable. So anyway, the other thing is that people, I used to be involved with doing some trading, and people said to me, "Oh, Simon, I've got a buyer for you." And I said, "Oh, okay, who was he? Tell me about him." Do you know what they used to say to me? "Oh, we got to meet him. You got to meet him." I said, "What's that? He's a millionaire." I was like, "But I asked you, who is he?" "He's a millionaire. I didn't ask you how much money he's got in the bank account. I didn't ask you what label you've put on him because of how much he earns and how much he owns. I'm asking you, who is the man? I don't care what he's got on the outside. Tell me what he is on the inside. That's how I know the man." Labels. Don't call me this and that. I'm neither rich nor poor. I am who I am. I'm putting no labels on me. Labels. What's wrong with people? Biblical people, listen to this. Get lost. Huh? Yeah, you get lost as well. What do you mean get lost? Oh, I'll tell you why. God spoke to Abraham. He said, "Abraham, I want you to leave your home and your father's home and everything, your kindred, and get out. Go, walk, step out. And I'll tell you as you go where you're going." Can't you tell me that? No, I'm not telling you first. You just start walking. What happened to Abraham? Got lost. Next person. Joseph. Joseph, he was a little bit arrogant, started talking about his dreams. He was showing up a little bit, and then brothers hated him, despised him, sold him to Egypt, where he went. There was strange city. No one knew him. He had to work for someone, and he didn't have no family there. What happened to him? Got lost. Jesus, up to the age of 30, was a carpenter. Carpenter's son. Nothing really much spoken about him. No one was really thinking about him too much. He didn't really, make much of an obvious statement. But then for 40 days and 40 nights, he got lost. Until you get rid of your labels and you refuse to be labeled and you refuse to try to accept an identity that groups you as opposed to separates you, you will never find out who you really are. Now, let me explain it to you this way. Even if you don't change location and physically get lost, you've got to disconnect. You've got to disconnect from everything that you've seen and told and say to yourself, why do I do this? Am I really doing this because of my own independent choice? Or am I doing this because of peer pressure? Am I doing this because of the media? Am I doing this because that's what's expected of me to do? This is not freedom. You see, look at me. I am free. You know why I'm free? Because I don't really care what you think about me. I'm free. And you know what? Just like in the supermarket, if the thing doesn't have a label, you can't find it. You can look for me in the baked beans, I'm not there. You can look for me in the sweet corn, I'm not there. You can look for me in the processed peas, I'm not there. Do you know why? Because I don't have a label. And when it doesn't have a label, yeah, it means that only till you open the tin and see the content will you know what it is. You see, some of you people just focus on going to the gym, looking beautiful. Yeah, I'd like to look pretty. I like to do that, but not more than focusing on making sure I've got good content. Don't be an empty vessel. Listen, peace and love, okay? And stop making people label you. Go and find yourself. Get to know yourself. Get lost. Before you can find yourself, you need to get lost. The gift and the giver. Find the giver, and he will show you the gift. Delivered by the gift, provided by the giver. Faith works.